Okay, if we could get everybody to take their seats, we're moving on to a very important and exciting part of our schedule. Well, we are very honored today to welcome to the stage now 3 governors who are leading the way in developing skilled workforce in creative and innovative ways in their respected states. They're going to have a moderated discussion led by my great partner, Director Ryan Weiss from the Department of Education. Please give a warm Iowa welcome to the Honorable Governor Kim Reynolds, the Honorable Governor Asa Hutchinson from the great state of Arkansas, and the Honorable Governor John Hickenlooper from the great state of Colorado.
Don't use all that stuff that they gave you.
Okay.
They filled in
I know.
All right. Well, thank you, governors, for being a part of this panel this afternoon on the critically important topic of computer science and computer science education. So I'll start in the spirit of full transparency. I was actually a high school history teacher and came out of an arts and sciences background, so I feel like I was a little late to the game on computer science. But as the old saying goes, there's no zeal like that of a convert, right? And so I feel like I'm not alone in this conversion experience of learning how critically important computer science and work-based learning are to a state's economy and to the education of our students. So I'm looking forward to asking you some questions about education first, and then we'll turn to the important topic of jobs. So Governor Reynolds, we'll start with you. Iowa's first ever computer science bill encourages all elementary, middle, and high schools to offer high-quality computer science by 2019. Meanwhile, high schools report that 14% of students in the class of 2017 took at least one rigorous computer science course. That's a good start. But what are the next steps you'd like to see, especially with regard to doing more to engage girls and young women and underrepresented minorities in this important topic?
Well, thank you very much for that question. And I want to thank the governors for joining me here today. I appreciate that very much. I sought you out because you are leaders in your state, and in Iowa we're a little competitive, so I let them know right off the bat I was on their tail, and I was going to come after them with everything we had. So thank you for sharing what you're doing and helping me encourage everyone here to help. Let's help do what we can to provide opportunities for Iowans. The computer science bill that we passed, I think, is a really good start. As Director Wise indicated, it encourages elementary, middle school to offer foundational computer science courses and high schools to offer a rigorous computer science course. While we have 14 that are doing it, we have over 50% that are offering not a rigorous computer science course, but at least some type of computer science course. So there is great momentum that we're seeing take place in the state of Iowa. I think 69% of middle school and high schools offer that now, and it's about 38% of elementary schools that offer it. And I think, the discussion that we heard this morning, it really reiterates the importance of we're doing it, we're encouraging them to do it. It's not a mandate for schools right now. And I think when we look at the opportunities that Hadi talked about, and we look at making sure that we're really educating our students for the opportunities that exist not only in Iowa, but to be prepared and competitive in a knowledge economy, this is an area that we really have to up our game on. And so I think, as we move forward and looking at doing things different, one of the things that we can do is just to make sure that every high school, middle school, and elementary school is offering computer science classes. So I think that that's really important as we transition to make sure that we're finding opportunities to have schools do that. In addition to that, I think we heard over and over that public-private partnership, work-based learning is another opportunity for us to really expose young people to the opportunities that exist in the state of Iowa. And I think the more that we can build out work-based learning opportunities and exposing them to the opportunities that exist, I think that's also really important. I asked Mary this morning when she was talking about just when you talk about the difference that makes with exposing our young people, I think Mary said you moved from 34% to 70% increase in an interest in manufacturing after just 2 hours of hands-on experience with leaders in your company. So just think, if we could do that same thing with individuals that computer science companies, I think we could really increase the number of people participating.
Great, thank you. So, Governor Hutchinson, thank you for being with us today. Arkansas leads the nation in computer science education, including requiring high schools to offer 2 sequential computer science education courses, implementing K-8 computer science instruction, training teachers across the state, and investing at least $7.5 million since 2015 to make this all happen. How did you build such a rapid consensus for this initiative, and how will you reach the goal of 20% of high school students earning at least 1 high school computer science credit by 2019-20, doubling the current 10%?
Thank you, and Governor Reynolds, thank you for the invitation to be here. And this is an incredible crowd, and I applaud you for your initiative in computer science and workforce education. It's good to be with Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado. And I'll just start off by saying that the initiative that we have in computer science in Arkansas is one of the most gratifying things and long-lasting impacts that I believe I will have as governor. It has really had an impact in education, but also in technology jobs in Arkansas, and the whole view of the students as they go through education. And we've had some success in it, setting up the infrastructure, largely because I campaigned on it, and I said, we're going to put computer coding in every high school. And this was probably the first time the word coding had ever been used in a political commercial. A lot of folks didn't even know what we're talking about. But that caught on, and so we were able to get the legislation passed, which was a mandate to put it in every school, but we made it a little bit easy because we wanted to make sure that it wasn't a burden, and so we provided it free by online services, but we put the $2.5 million each year to help retrain teachers. And so you asked me, well, how are you going to get it from a 10% to a higher level in terms of the number of students? We've grown over 400% in our number of students taking computer science. One of the largest increases among female students and minority students. But you grow in that number because even though you mandate it to be offered in the schools, you don't mandate students to take it. It's still a choice for them. And so I think the key to success in the number of students taking it is that we incorporated it into our K through 8 curriculum. So it's not just in high schools now, but it's incorporating the lower grades, so that demand increases as they move through and up into high school. Secondly, we started off in Arkansas with fewer than 20 teachers that could teach computer science. We have trained now with some level of professional development over 2,000 teachers. And we have, I think it's well over 300 that are actively teaching in the classroom. And so we've increased the number of teachers as well. And then you got to market it. You got to tell the kids how exciting it is. And so I've been in over 60 schools since I've been governor, high schools, holding assemblies, giving them my pitch for computer science. And hopefully that increases the demand as well. So we've got a lot of work to do in Arkansas, but it's incredibly exciting to see the change in students' lives, their interest, and the fact that that demand, I think, will continue.
That's great. And you've touched on a couple of themes that we'll return to here in a minute: the importance of building the teacher workforce and teacher capacity to deliver on the promise of computer science, as well as the potential that online learning and digital learning hold. So thank you for raising those. Governor Hickenlooper, thanks for being with us today as well. So in Colorado, the legislature passed a bill requiring development of voluntary academic standards for computer science by July 1st, 2018. Iowa's taken a similar approach, requiring districts to implement computer science standards only if they accept the state funding for teacher training, or professional development incentive fund. Arkansas, on the other hand, required schools to implement the standards. why did Colorado take a voluntary approach? And do you think this could eventually evolve into a requirement?
Yeah, I think it almost certainly will eventually evolve. We took the voluntary approach for probably similar reasons. Politically, there has been so much conflagration. There's been so much battles over the state imposing, whether it's testing standards or we have 10 different academic standards in place right now. To add another one would have created a lot of resistance, and we're really focused trying to get everyone on the same page. And you know, my sense, and we'll talk about jobs, I'm sure, in a second, but the two most important things in your economy is one, your workforce, and again, you got to remember that almost 70% of the kids that are in high school today are never going to finish a four-year degree, right, in all of our states. And for the last 25 years, we've been trying to convince them that they've all got to go to college and really removing resources. So they not only feel that they're kind of second-class citizens, but they also don't have additional resources to learn the skills they need. So that workforce, we've just got to reinvent completely the way we're doing workforce. Then the second thing is love of place, which again, in a place like Iowa and Arkansas, you have so many people that love where they are. You know, the worst thing is you go and you train all these kids, and then they all want to live in Colorado, which some do, I realize, but not very many.
Now, there's no marketing going on during this panel.
But anyway, in terms of computer science, we know that the earlier you get kids exposed to computer science, the more they're going to want, the more kids are going to want it as they go up through the pipeline. And you know, almost every job, when we start really looking at skills-based education and a whole lifetime, an arc where kids accumulate skills through their lives and are really responsible for their own skill set, that those kids that started earlier with computer science, they have a greater facility and a greater accomplishment with computer skills. And those computer skills are important in almost every profession today. It doesn't matter it's not just advanced manufacturing, it's not just some of the things, tech and cybersecurity, but it's almost everything, right? It's closer and closer. Even if you're not going to be, you don't need to get a degree in electrical engineering. You've got to understand basic coding and the language. And we finally got at the state of Colorado, the high schools could accept computer science as a language requirement. And that's, was an easier step, but again, only part of the way to where we all need to get to.
Great. So all three of you raised the important issue of the continuum of learning, from elementary grades to middle school to high school, and then, of course, beyond high school, into college and into the workforce. So I want to shift gears here for a minute and talk about workforce and the intersection of computer science. So Governor Reynolds, the Future Ready Iowa goal, as you've mentioned, is that 70% of our workforce will have education or training beyond high school by 2025. Meanwhile, Code.org, as we learned today, estimates that Iowa has nearly 4,400 open computing jobs, which pay an average of $79,000 a year. What steps can we take to ensure we're filling those jobs?
Well, I think, work-based learning, I think we've heard it over and over with all of the breaks out and the different speakers this morning, the opportunities that provides. When I talk to, and the opportunities to really develop partnerships within the communities across the state of Iowa. When I go into a community and I talk about the importance of work-based learning and how easy it is to really focus on whatever the need is in the region, whether it's welding, computer science, nursing, whatever it may be, and it's different depending on where you're at in the state, that by developing the partnerships and bringing together business, high school, community college, four-year college, if you form those partnerships and start to develop opportunities for juniors, seniors, college kids, not only does it help them see the opportunities that exist in communities all across the state, but it's economic development, because we're not exporting our children out of the state of Iowa. We're providing for them opportunities to find out where they have a passion, what they're interested in. We're allowing them to see the phenomenal opportunities that exist right in their community, and they start thinking about things differently. So I think the more that we can we can offer those types of work-based learning opportunities. You saw a whole host of them around the perimeter here of different collaborative efforts that are taking place, not only in urban areas, but in rural areas. So there's so many different ways that we can, and components that we can put these opportunities together. And I think one of the things that we can do is to talk about them as we're in different communities. We should make it as easy as possible. So here's an example of a model or a program that they put together in Pella at Pella Career Academy. But by the way, you can apply that to computer science, you can apply that to advanced manufacturing, you can apply that to whatever it may be. So I think the more that we can expose our young people to the opportunities and the different career paths that exist within our state, especially in computer science, they start thinking about it differently. And again, I think that helps keep them in the state. There is one example of a great program that really aligns with computer science, and that's a partnership with DMAC and Shazam. We're in their second year of their freshman year. They're doing an internship. They're getting paid while they're doing it. It's a significant salary, and they're snatching them up as soon as they graduate with a 2-year degree, and they're starting out with salaries in the $59,000 range. So there's another example of something that can be scaled in areas all across the state with various businesses.
That's great. And when you capture kids' imagination at an early age, it makes those pipelines so much easier to fill. I can see that in my own kids who are 3rd grade and 6th grade, and being able to spark that interest and then have opportunities for them once they graduate is really exciting.
So I should say real quick too, so Future Ready Iowa actually helps drive that. So we're helping put some funding behind work-based learning so that we can be a partner in communities all across the state. With the Employer Innovation Fund, we're working with employers that want to maybe develop their own type of internship program and helping really meet a need within the region. Last Dollar Scholars is another opportunity, and then the grants that are available also. So really, Future Ready Iowa is designed to put kind of the support system together to recognize programs that are already working and look for opportunities to scale those best practices.
Governor Hickenlooper, Colorado has nearly 14,000 open computing jobs, according to code.org, yet just 785 computer science college graduates in 2015. The good news is that the Denver Post reported this fall that Colorado colleges are overflowing with a huge wave of computer science students, which is a promising development. Do you think this is part of a boom and bust cycle of computer science enrollment over decades, or do you think this is a sign of more sustainable change?
I think this is completely sustainable. I think there, after the dot-com bubble burst at the end of the 1990s, a lot of higher education administrators, saw that they'd staffed up on computer science and other tech professors, and they had to go through a difficult time. This is completely different, right? We don't give kids the tools to navigate the future economy. We are doing, government malpractice. And I think in Colorado, so we will have, in 3 years, we will have half again, capacity at least, half again more students, and then half again 3 years after that. So we are clearly scaling it up because you've got to grow your own. I mean, you can't attract kids to come in. And I look at it, the workforce, the work-based learning, which Governor Reynolds was talking about, which I think is so powerful. We're now in the 5th year, the 3rd year of a pilot of apprenticeships, which have a huge tech component, right? It's part of almost all of the apprenticeships. But these aren't apprenticeships to electricians and plumbers and traditional trades. These are we modeled it on the Swiss system, whereby kids can choose when they're 16 or 17 or 18 to become an apprentice, and they work for a bank or insurance company. And first year they go to work 2 days, and then they go 3 years to a community college or a workforce training center, maybe back to their school, and they learn a curriculum that is directly connected to what they're doing at work, right? So they're 2 days working in an insurance company. They're going to study math that makes them more successful at their job. They're going to learn how a workspace works. And then the next year they'll work 3 days and study 2 days. At the end of the apprenticeship, they'll have 60 or 70 credit hours, so they'll have a year's worth of college. They'll be living at home, most of them, so they have no debt. So they've saved up some money. And more importantly, they have a much greater sense of what they want to do. This year we have 160 kids doing this at about 24 companies. We're going to have 280 kids next year or this year it's 44 companies, we'll have 80 companies next year. Our goal is to be at 20,000 kids in 8 years. And this is the businesses love it, the kids love it. It's the most successful, and this is sort of what we all agree on. You don't want to impose stuff on your community. You want to create a system where the community helps you create it. We took 60 of our, the superintendents of 5 of the largest school districts, 8 CEOs of several of the largest foundations, head of higher education, the head of community colleges, took them all to Switzerland for a week 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And the transformation was amazing because we had all the influencers learning the same things and getting the same curriculum. We leave the hotel at 7 in the morning, we'd get back at 10 every night. Everyone whined and complained, but they loved it. And now as a state, we're able to really move forward. And this is the kind, we've got, artificial intelligence, automation, we are going to lose so many professions so rapidly unless we get out ahead of it and start giving kids the tools so that they can navigate these changes. We're just going to condemn them to second-class jobs.
So staying on this theme of preparing students for engagement with business and industry and the jobs of the future, Governor Hutchinson, Arkansas's Computer Science Initiative, as we mentioned, launched back in 2015. So now, 3.5 years later, are you starting to see that it's having an impact on attracting and retaining businesses and industry in Arkansas?
It is, and to Governor Hickenlooper's point, we have to grow our own. We're not just training 6,000 in computer science out of our high schools each year for them to go to Colorado and or Silicon Valley or to Austin, Texas. And what is wonderful, and I tell this to our students, that you can run the world from the front porch in Harrison, Arkansas. All you have to do is to know computer coding or computer science and have access to high-speed broadband. Those are the 2 ingredients. And we have people from Austin and from India that are doing work for companies in Arkansas. Well, we can reverse that. And so it's really a necessity that we make sure that we have those job opportunities. And is it working? Yes. First of all, we've got incredible global companies in Arkansas that if we don't have the talent, we will lose those global companies because to locate elsewhere where that talent can grow. And so we're feeding that pool of Walmart, of Murphy Oil Company, of Dillard's, of Riceland Foods, all of those global companies. It's very important that they have that talent pool. Secondly, we have noticed an increase in our technology companies in Arkansas. Matova is a company that relocated from Boston, Massachusetts down to Arkansas. And they had the talent pool, and that made a difference there. We've had some homegrown companies that started through innovation. And then we are doing what we call accelerator programs that some of you might be familiar with, but that's where we partnered with FIS, which is a financial services industry, to bring in top talent, disruptive talent that will come into Arkansas. They might be all over the globe, but they've got ideas and innovation in the financial arena that they want to develop and disrupt and to be the next generation of technology. So we're helping to fund those programs, and we're trying to land a few of them. Some of them will go back to their home country or state and develop their jobs. Others will stay in Arkansas because they have that connection there. So the accelerator program has been helpful as well. The state put in $2 million to these accelerator programs, hoping to attract some of those technology businesses. So we recognize how important it is, and we're working to develop it.
So I want to return to a couple of the themes that came up earlier in the conversation. And let's start with teachers, because teachers are critically important to this entire conversation. And Iowa has invested heavily in building the capacity of the teaching profession through our Teacher Leadership Initiative. And I think there's important intersections here as well. So Governor Reynolds, I'll start with you and then work our way across the panel. So getting enough K-12 teachers trained to teach computer science is one of the biggest challenges in all of the states. Would you talk a little bit about how we're meeting this challenge in Iowa, and then would love to hear from Arkansas and Colorado as well?
So one of the things that we're doing in Iowa and that was part of the computer science bill was computer science endorsements for teachers. So this year, 17, I think, we launched the information technology endorsement for career and technical education teachers. And in addition to that, we also launched a computer science endorsement for non-career and technical education teachers. And then another component of the computer science bill that was passed was a professional development incentive fund. So we wanted to encourage teachers to get into teaching computer science and information technology, and we did that through incentivizing it, so encouraging them to not only get the endorsement, but helping pay for that as well. One of the other things that we do that's been really effective too, and it's part of the STEM initiative, is an externship program, and I think that gives educators the opportunity through the summer to work with some of these technology companies, computer science companies, to get a better understanding of what that field looks like. And I think that that's always important, that sometimes they've only been in academia, so to actually get the opportunity to be in the work environment and bring some of that back into the classroom, I think has been really effective. And not only talking about it to young people, but a lot of times they'll say that they've completely changed the way that they teach in the classroom, and it kind of strikes a new passion for them to maybe encourage them to get the endorsements, whether it be information technology or computer science.
Governor Hutchinson.
This is probably the most important ingredient for a successful program. And the first thing you've got to do is to create the demand among the students. If students want computer science and coding in their curriculum, teachers will respond to it. The teachers will want to meet the needs of the students. And so you create the demand and the interest there. The teachers will be there. There's nothing that they would like to do more. Secondly, it's important to encourage the teachers that don't be intimidated when the students know more than you do. And so we've got some incredible stories. A French teacher, she came to me and she says, I went and got developed and did my training for computer science because I heard it was important to the governor. And she says, it's got to be just like any other language. I learned French, surely I can learn the language of the computer. And then she went in the classroom and all of a sudden they went from 0 students to 30 students because they had a teacher. Yeah. And we had an assistant coach that was out on the athletic field, and he came in and had some incredibly bright students learn computer science, and he thanked me for getting him out of 2-a-day practices. Teachers will always be there. Now, we did also try to incentivize them, and so, we put some money behind our teachers, just like you did here in terms of professional development. We also said, if you'll get licensed as a computer science teacher and actually teach for a semester in the classroom, we'll give you a $2,000 stipend. And so that's just an investment in the teachers. We're trying to incentivize them both with the demand of the students, but also, a reward there, because the teachers are the key. And if they don't stay in the classroom, if they're not teaching it, you're going to go back to virtual learning, online learning, and that's not the best way.
Absolutely agree, teachers being the key, and the importance of high-quality professional learning and the funding to support that. So thank you for mentioning that. Governor Hickenlooper.
Yeah, no question. As always on education matters, Governor Hutchinson is always out ahead of us a little bit on these things. Certainly there's no more important thing for a kid's education than a great teacher, right? Great principals are very, very important. You go down the system, but a great teacher is the difference. But you can also, as you're trying to expand to get more teachers with a facility to computer science, they don't have to be experts, but in some cases in the smaller communities, librarians are willing to learn how and get the basic rudiment to be able to be that introductory teacher in something like that. And certainly making sure that we have professional development grants to encourage more teachers. I think the $2,000 a year stipend is an idea worth stealing. Just for the record, enlightened larceny is what governors do with each other. We basically steal each other's best ideas, and then we usually improve them, and then about 2 years later, they steal them back and improve them again. And it is we're probably the least partisan of any political forum, I think, in the country. The other thing that really helps with teachers is, and I think technology is going to become more and more a part of this, especially in terms of computer science and coding. A lot of this can be done online. It probably is much more applicable. There's a school in Paris. There's I think one of the most interesting people in the world is a guy named Xavier Niel. You can just Google him. But he is now a philanthropist, a tech philanthropist. He started an accelerator in an old train station. He bought this train station, and it's called Station F. He now has 1,000 startups. And there's a Google office there and a Microsoft office there. It is a breathtaking place. But then he didn't have enough computer scientists, didn't have enough coders. And so he started a school called 42. That's just the name, it's just the number 42. I say he's the most interesting person in the world. He can be also baffling. Evidently, 42 is from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. It's the secret to the universe. But anyway, in this school, 3,000 individuals, not just kids of all ages, are learning coding. There's 21 different projects. And if you are working a full-time job somewhere else, you can get to about 7 projects a year. So it's about a 3-year program if you're working. If you focused on it and did nothing else, you probably get through in a year and a half. The amazing thing is there's no teachers. So he has all these, there's an old school building. They've outfitted with about 2,000 computer screens. I went there on a Sunday night. There were 850 kids, not kids, people of all ages studying. And as you work through a program or a project, you can see you get extra credit for helping other students. So you can see who just finished that number project. Let's see you're on project 6. You can see who just finished project 6. You can see who's just starting it, who's at the same level you are, who's at the same stopping point. And I think that ability to encourage kids to help each other with a teacher's facility, right? I mean, 42 doesn't have any teachers. I think in our system, probably you need some more hands-on. But computer science lends itself to that, and especially coding at the introductory levels.
Great. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. I wish we could continue it all afternoon, but unfortunately, we have a lot more learning to do today. But please join me in thanking the governors for their time this afternoon.
Tim, thank you.
Thank you.